I couldn't protect my child. I have failed of my child.
Mother, help! Mother, help! Mother, help!
I'll fight you with my last blood. You must pay for your evil deed. That bastard must pay for his actions. Let's go.
Once upon a time, the sun in Lusaka, Zambia, beat down with a relentless warmth, as it always did, baking the dusty earth roads and making the corrugated iron roofs shimmer. In one particular compound, nestled amongst a cluster of other modest homes, lived the M. Whale family, Mr. and Mrs. M. Whale and their two bright-eyed children, 8-year-old Naledi and her younger brother, 6-year-old Thabo. Their lives were simple, filled with the everyday rhythms of school, chores, and the boundless energy of childhood. Across the small, shared yard in the house directly opposite theirs lived Mr. Shanda. He was a man in his late 40s, always with a ready smile and a booming laugh that seemed to echo through the compound. Mr. Shanda had no children of his own, and he often doted on Naledi and Thabo, offering them sweets, sharing jokes, and sometimes even helping them with their homework. Mrs. M. Whale, a kind woman with a strong sense of community, trusted Mr. Shanda implicitly. He was, after all, a good neighbor. He helped them carry heavy bags from the market, he watched their house when they traveled, and he always seemed to be there, a friendly, familiar presence. Naledi and Thabo saw him as an uncle figure, someone fun and approachable. They would often run to his door, their small fists knocking excitedly, eager for a sweet or a story. Mrs. M. Whale would sometimes send Naledi to Mr. Shanda's house to borrow a cup of sugar or to return a plate. It was a common occurrence, part of the fabric of their daily lives. One afternoon, Naledi returned from Mr. Shanda's house, her usual boisterous energy subdued. Her eyes were cast downwards and she walked with a strange slowness. Mrs. M. Whale, busy pounding maize in a mortar, noticed the change immediately. "Naledi, my child, what is wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing with concern. Naledi just shook her head, muttering something about feeling tired. Later that evening, as Mrs. M. Whale braided Naledi's hair for bed, she noticed Naledi flinching when her hand brushed against her lower back. "Does it hurt, my love?" "Did you fall?" Mrs. M. Whale asked gently. Naledi mumbled a no, but her body language spoke volumes. Mrs. M. Whale, a mother's intuition stirring within her, felt a prickle of unease. Over the next few days, Naledi's behavior grew more withdrawn. She stopped playing with Thabo as much, and her laughter, once so readily given, became rare. She would sometimes stare into space, a faraway look in her eyes. When Mr. Shanda would call out to her from his doorway, her usual eager response was replaced by a quick, almost fearful retreat into their house. Mrs. M. Whale tried to talk to her to coax out what was troubling her. "Naledi, you are quiet these days. Tell Mama what is on your mind. Is school bothering you? Are your friends being unkind?" Naledi would just shrug, her small shoulders hunched, her eyes avoiding her mother's. "It's nothing, Mama. I'm just tired." The words were spoken softly, almost a whisper, but the tone lacked conviction. The unease in Mrs. M. Whale's heart grew into a heavy knot. One morning, Mrs. M. Whale watched from her window as Naledi walked past Mr. Shanda's house on her way to school. Mr. Shanda was sweeping his porch. He called out Naledi's name, his usual cheerful greeting. Naledi visibly stiffened. She lowered her head, quickened her pace, and hurried past without a glance in his direction. Mr. Shanda's smile faltered for a moment, a fleeting look of something unreadable crossing his face before he resumed his sweeping. That evening, Mr. M. Whale noticed Naledi's change too. He was a quiet man but observant. "What is happening with Naledi? She is not herself," he remarked to his wife. Mrs. M. Whale recounted her observations, her growing worries. "I don't know my husband. She just seems different and she avoids Mr. Shanda now. I wonder if something happened." Mr. M. Whale frowned. "Mr. Shanda. But he is such a good man, always kind to the children. Despite his words, a seed of doubt had been planted. The next day, Mrs. M. Whale decided to take Naledi to the market with her. It was a long walk, and she hoped the time alone, away from the compound, might encourage Naledi to open up. As they walked, Mrs. M. Whale held Naledi's hand, squeezing it gently. "Naledi, my precious flower, I am worried about you. You used to tell me everything, now you keep secrets from your mama." Naledi's lower lip trembled. She looked up at her mother, her eyes swimming with unshed tears. "Mama," she began, her voice barely audible, "Mr. Shanda," she stopped, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks, her small body shaking with silent sobs. Mrs. M. Whale immediately knelt down, pulling Naledi into a tight embrace. "What about Mr. Shanda, my child? Tell Mama, no matter what it is, Mama will protect you." Naledi buried her face in her mother's shoulder, her words muffled and broken between sobs. He told me not to tell. He said if I tell, he will make sure bad things happen to Thabo." Mrs. M. Whale's blood ran cold. A wave of icy dread washed over her. "What did he do, Naledi? Tell Mama everything, no matter how scary it seems." With much coaxing and through many tears, Naledi began to describe, in fragmented, childlike words, the terrible things Mr. Shanda had been doing. It had started subtly with a special treat, a secret game, an invitation into his house when no one else was around. Then it had escalated, with Mr. Shanda touching her in ways that felt wrong, telling her they were their little secrets, warning her of dire consequences if she ever spoke a word. He had made her promise not to tell, emphasizing the threat to Thabo, knowing Naledi's protective nature towards her younger brother. Each word Naledi spoke felt like a stab to Mrs. M. Whale's heart. The good neighbor, the trusted friend, the man who had sat at their table and laughed with them had been preying on her innocent daughter. The betrayal, the violation, was a bitter, sickening taste in her mouth. Her beloved Naledi, suffering in silence, carrying this heavy burden alone.
I will fight for every tear in your eyes.
Mrs. M. Whale held Naledi tighter, rocking her gently, her own tears now mixing with her daughter's. Her mind raced. She felt a burning anger, a fierce protectiveness, and a profound sense of guilt for not seeing it sooner. How could she have been so blind, so trusting? They walked the rest of the way to the market in a haze, Mrs. M. Whale's focus entirely on Naledi, on calming her, on reassuring her that she had done nothing wrong, that it was Mr. Shanda who was bad. As soon as they returned home, Mrs. M. Whale found her husband. Her face was pale, her eyes blazing with a mixture of pain and fury. "My husband, we have a grave problem, it's Mr. Shanda. He has been hurting Naledi." She recounted Naledi's confession, her voice shaking with emotion. Mr. M. Whale listened, his face slowly transforming from disbelief to a look of utter shock and then a cold, dangerous rage. He felt a searing pain in his chest, a primal urge to protect his child. His good neighbor had committed the most unforgivable sin. "We must go to the police," Mr. M. Whale declared, his voice low and firm, betraying the turmoil within him. "Now. We will not let him get away with this." Mrs. M. Whale nodded, her resolve hardening. The fear for her child was replaced by a fierce determination for justice.
I couldn't protect my child. I have failed of my child.
I'll fight you with my last blood. You must pay for your evil deed.
Naledi, though still scared, felt a glimmer of hope, a sense of relief that the secret was finally out. That evening, accompanied by a distraught but determined Mrs. M. Whale, Naledi bravely recounted her story to the police. The police officer, a kind-faced woman who was also a mother, listened with grave seriousness, her heart aching for the little girl. She assured them that Naledi would be protected and that Mr. Shanda would face the full force of the law.
That bastard must pay for his actions. Let's go.
The next morning, a police vehicle arrived at the compound. The neighbors, drawn by the unusual sight, gathered in whispers, their curiosity piqued. Mr. Shanda, initially trying to play off the visit as a misunderstanding, quickly paled when the officers informed him of the accusations. He denied everything, his usual booming laugh replaced by a nervous, stammering defense. But Naledi, standing bravely beside her parents, pointed at him, her small voice clear and strong. "He is the one." The arrest of Mr. Shanda sent shockwaves through the compound. The community was stunned. The man they all knew, the friendly neighbor, a pillar of the community in their eyes, was now revealed to be a monster. Many struggled to reconcile the image of the kind Mr. Shanda with the heinous acts he was accused of. There were whispers, gasps of disbelief, and then a slow, dawning realization of the darkness that had been hiding in plain sight. For the M. Whale family, the journey was far from over. Naledi began therapy, slowly, carefully, processing the trauma she had endured. Her parents surrounded her with love and support, reassuring her constantly, rebuilding her trust. The compound itself felt different. The easy camaraderie was replaced by a cautiousness, a newfound awareness that evil could wear the most familiar of faces. The children in the compound were now watched with a keener eye. Parents spoke in hushed tones, discussing the implications, the shattering of their communal innocence. They learned a harsh, unforgettable lesson, that a smile does not always mean kindness and familiarity does not always guarantee safety. Mr. Shanda was eventually tried and found guilty. Justice, though slow, was served, but the scars, both visible and invisible, remained. Naledi, with the unwavering love of her family, slowly began to heal. Her laughter returned, softer at first, then growing in strength. She learned to trust again, starting with her parents and slowly, cautiously expanding her circle. The Emwell family became advocates, sharing Naledi's story not to dwell in pain but to warn others. They spoke to community groups, to parents, urging them to listen to their children, to watch for the signs no matter how subtle and never to let their guard down. Even with those they considered trusted friends or neighbors. The sun still shone brightly in Lusaka, but now parents in the M. Wales compound looked at their neighbors, at strangers, and most importantly at their own children with a new, vigilant understanding. They learned that safety was not just about locked doors, but about open communication, sharp observation, and an unwavering belief in their children's voices. The incident, though horrific, forged a stronger, more protective community, forever changed by the chilling lesson that sometimes the greatest danger lies not in the shadows, but in the glaring light of everyday familiarity.